Welcome, foolish mortal, to the Spooky Chris podcast. My name is Chris Ringler, the aforementioned Spooky Chris. This is my wee little podcast, and if you've discovered it or are listening, I thank you. I am an author and general ghoul around this time of year. You can find all my information, stories, all kinds of fun stuff at spookychris.com. I just actually released a new book called Are We Monsters, which is an anthology of monster stories, which is perfect for this time of year. So if you're looking for something new and spooky, it's a pretty fun little read. It's on Kindle and paperback through Amazon. So as we lumber towards Halloween, I thought, had I the time, I'm getting still used to this whole having a kiddo thing, so time is an enemy sometimes. But as we near Halloween, I thought I would reminisce about my 3 cents on haunts, a la haunted houses, etc. I think I'm sure I've mentioned it on here. I've mentioned it everywhere, as if I'm a celebrity telling about my new movie. I love Halloween. I've always loved Halloween as a kid. My mom made costumes for me. I remember the one that, not all the time, because I remember one of the classic 80s plastic cut your tongue off costumes of Spider-Man that I hated. It seems like I had to wear a winter coat that year and it was awful, or it rained or something. I also remember, my mom had made me, and it was awesome. She took a pair of jeans and this long sleeve blue shirt I had, and she cut out bones and a heart and sewed them on my stuff. So I was a skeleton, then did my face up all skeletal, like a skull. But it was great. I love that costume, something fierce. I've always loved Halloween. As I trick-or-treated until, I'm thinking I was a senior. I always think I'm 18, but no, I was a senior because I went, I think it was when I was 16, 17. I forget. Because I remember going out and doing stuff when I was 17, but I can't recall if it was Halloween, like trick-or-treating or stuff, but I went real late, and I had no shame. I think we had a few people kind of give us grief, but to me, I don't care how old you are, as long as you're in a costume and you're just kind of following the rules to kind of grab Sam from Trick or Treat's bag. There's the kind of rules of Halloween. It's like, be in the spirit, be in a costume, play the game, say trick or treat. It's you have to kind of have the understanding, especially nowadays. Like, not everyone can afford candy for people or snacks or whatever. We haven't celebrated, in our neighborhood Halloween for 2 years, which I hate not putting out stuff, our decorations. I actually bought some more decorations this year. But with COVID, we just are recovering from COVID. I don't feel comfortable, interacting with that much of the public. So we're just not going to do it. And I feel bad. Especially because where we live on this block, it's interesting because we live near the quote unquote rich houses, which I live in Flint, Michigan, whatever. But there are still, like back in the day, the automobile industry barons had been here and built these giant mansions. There's gorgeous mansions and just big houses and stuff here. And we're near one of the neighborhoods where those are. And so, we've known people that would give out 500 pieces of candy. Would get that or more, near to 1,000 kids, because they'd come from essentially across this big cross street that runs through the area. Over to our area, and we're on the edge of that, so we don't get as many kids. but there's not a lot of houses down our street that celebrate Halloween, which is a bummer. But maybe next year, especially with the kiddo, I'm hoping we can get back in the swing of things. That's my hope, at least. We'll see. We'll see what the world has to offer, I guess. But I've always loved Halloween. I love the music, the movies, everything. As I was saying, my senior year, I remember going to a haunted house, one or two, a couple, with friends. And one of them was this girl that I'm still friends with, who was a foreign exchange student at the time from Brazil. And it was fascinating because, it's much different. So she just, all of the Halloween stuff was just fascinating to her. And I remember they were doing, at the end of things, they had the kind of, it was funny because they did doing it for, older teenagers and younger. But you're used to seeing this kind of thing with younger kids. But they had the coffin with the body and there's the eyes, and this is the brain, and here's the gods. And it was one of those things that she walked up, it's like, those aren't eyes, those are grapes, in her little accent. And it was funny as heck. They kicked her out, and I was like, but they let her back in once I think they realized that she wasn't screwing with them. She's just a foreign exchange student that just didn't know that was a thing. So one of the things I love about Halloween is it's kind of an agreement. It's a bargain. For Halloween and for Christmas. I mean, shoot, I guess you could say Thanksgiving, because we all pretend to love our families. Oh, wicked burn. I love my family. But we kind of all agree to let ourselves be kids a little. We let ourselves believe. We get into the lights and the decorations and the fun of it, like wrapping presents. Because, pragmatically, even if we are going to do this stuff, why wrap it? They're just going to tear the paper off. Why are we spending money? It's all of this stuff. Why are we putting lights up? We just have to take them down. Blah, blah, blah. But there's a part of us that is still a kid. And we like it. We like going around and seeing all the stuff, the decoration. We love seeing the kids in the costumes. Like seeing the adults in clever costumes and not stupid stuff. All of it. And I think if the people that buy in and that are like, I am into this. I am, if I'm not a participant actively, I'm not in a costume, I'm going to appreciate what you're doing and not be a wet blanket and kind of just like rain on the parade. I'm not going to be a jerk to kids, that kind of thing. I hate it when adults try to scare kids. Like, I think Halloween, a big part of it is the fear, and is this kind of like this danger, but it's safe danger, if that's, makes sense, is that it's going to a haunted house. You are, again, you're putting your logic aside, and you're saying, I want to be scared. I believe in zombies. I believe in ghosts. I believe in aliens with chainsaws. But little kids, when they're just going out trick-or-treating and stuff, I mean, Halloween it's a night activity. It is generally. It is, you're going around if you're doing it right. At night in a neighborhood. But and so you want to, the creepy crawlies are great. You want to stir the imagination, but you don't want to freak the kids out. For me, like that's not fun. Like most of Halloween is for kids, like not all of it, because I'm never going to stop loving Halloween, but a big chunk of it, the heart of it has been about kids. And if you're going to ruin the night for them, then just bow out. That's where I'm at. But like all of it is so much fun, and it again lets us tap into the kid in all of us. Some people like me are more kid than adult, but it's nice to almost have permission to dress up and to be silly and be weird and creepy and to enjoy all this stuff. We are so caught up in the horrors of this world, caught up in news we can scarcely change. Many of us kind of tied to jobs we don't love, watching corporations with people who couldn't spend the money they make in 100 lifetimes, crying about taxes that they should pay because darn it, that's not fair. And we get so caught up in that. It's nice to step aside and just be worried about killers on the loose and monsters in the basement and revenants coming for their revenge. It's nice to get into that. It's funny when people turn their nose up to horror movies. Like, I don't like those. I don't want to be scared, and not understanding there's a different. It's a different type of scared. It's not the scared of like a guy coming up to your car with a gun saying, "That car is mine now." It's the horror of, "Oh boy, I'm in the house alone and I heard someone walking around." It's different. It's safe horror, and it taps a different part of your brain. It taps the imagination, and anything can be there. We know in cold light of day, and logically and stuff, we know that there's nothing there. We know that there's no monster on the loose, that there's not, these things out there. A serial killer hasn't been stalking us. But it's that what if. And that's what's amazing. I mean, it's just like Christmas, is that it's the, it's all of that. Christmas, it's getting to shower adoration and love in whatever way you do on the people that mean something to you. It's getting to give the kid like that present that's going to make their eyes light up. It's family, it's friends, it's food, it's blah blah blah. And Halloween is the dark mirror image of Christmas. It's like it's at night. It's still got lights though, but darker lights and creepier lights, and it's got decoration but creepier. It's got its own, Samhain is out there stalking, like guiding the dead. All that. It's got great stuff. And I think if people give into it and get like, it's great. I will take part in trunk or treats because I want my kid to have lots of candy, and I want her to have fun. But I hate them because I hate the idea of kind of neutering what was a community event. And it stinks that we've become so hateful of one another and so fearful that we'd rather go do trunk or treats, and pretend that Halloween doesn't exist, like these harvest festivals and all that stuff. And I get the idea that, well, it's got religious connotations. And it's like, not really anymore. Like, do religions still hold this as a high holy day? Yes. But I mean, is Halloween a religious holiday? No. But again, I get it. Parents get in their feels about everything today. And, I'm offended. I'm offended that you're celebrating Halloween. I just can't believe you would do such a thing. It's satanic and evil. And it's not. The Celts and the Picts and all the folks way back in the day that celebrated and created this were not satanic. They were, like, we call them lots of things. They were not satanic. Their worship and all of that is not, because it wasn't Christian, it's not satanic. It was pagan, whatever. Ignorance. But I mean, that's, right now it's funny because Halloween is full of, and it's funny in a way too, because it's funny that parents and adults of a certain type they get into Halloween in their own way. Because now it's the stoner panic. It's the make sure your children aren't given THC infused items this Halloween. Dude, I am not and never have I'm not one to partake and have never partaken of the THC marijuana and all that. But even I freaking know. No stoner is handing out their pot. And these items, like, are not cheap. So your bag of, like, Cheetums, whatever the heck they would call, like, the fake Cheetos and stuff, like, that's THC infused, they ain't handing them out. Like, it just ain't, because it would be so expensive. It's just not going to happen. I mean, and anyways, frankly, parents should be going through their kids' candy anyways, just in case someone, like, puts something that shouldn't be in there. Or, like, there's a candy bar that is open a little. Or you just want to get some of the good stuff for yourself. It's just funny. It's funny, this, these people that hate Halloween or fear it are getting in on it, like, oh my gosh, the stoners are going to destroy our children with their drugs and their marijuanas. Oh, heavens. Oh, we're something else, our society of clowns. one of the cornerstones for Halloween for me though are haunts, and I haven't really been to a haunt in a while. I don't want people touching me. My eyesight isn't as good anymore, and I don't want to get lost. I watch a lot of I watch some people on YouTube that I follow that are kind of travelers, and they'll go and do haunts, and that's kind of me living vicariously through them. I adore them though, to a degree. I still hold regret to 18-year-old me, and I went on spring break with some friends, and we went to Church Street is what it was called, and that was kind of like off in Orlando, off off away from the parks, and it was where people would party, and there was it was kind of like a secondary touristy spot, and they had their chair on Church Street, still the flyer somewhere, and this is 1992. And they had a haunt. It was a full-time haunt, and they had professional actors. Like, these were actor stuff. I mean, because, again, it's not as if, they're, theater people all the time. Maybe they were. I don't know. But these are, this was their job, was haunting people all the time. These weren't just, 17-year-old kids who were making a couple bucks for a month and a half. These were actors. And it was a gorgeous facility, space, and it was really well designed and decorated, and there was kind of a story, and we were brats, me and my friends. We were just cool kid 18-year-olds, 17, 18-year-olds, and we were going to be the cool kids. And so we were making fun of the ghosts and the actors and just being obnoxious, and I regret that because I think it was a really neat haunt that I just kind of cool guyed it through and ruined it for myself. I've been to good haunts and bad haunts. A good haunt to me is one that has a story, and a story that's consistent. Usually to me you want simple. The more complex you make it, and more, you're going into this, if it's in an old factory building, and it's like, thank you for coming into the haunted Jones Manor, this old mansion. But we're not in a mansion. We're in an old industrial building. Let's be clear. You want to use whatever space you're in. You want to cater the story to that. You want to have the action and the actors and the monsters and the scares relevant to the story. To me, it's funny that we have one out here, and I like it because it's that's a half an hour long haunted hayride thing. But they would throw everything there. They would have clowns with chainsaws, aliens with chainsaws. They had a Kaczynski, the Unabomber gag, where a mailbox would blow up. Just random stuff. And that stuff drives me crazy because there's no reason or rhyme for it. I remember as a kid going through a haunt and being followed by somebody I thought was an axe, but it might have been a chainsaw. I don't know. This would have been early, mid-80s maybe. So it might have been an axe, but I was so freaked out by them because of the idea of someone following me in the dark. The most impactful haunted attraction I ever went through still gets me, and it was the simplicity of it, but mainly the actor. And were I to go through it now, it has all but zero impact on me. But as a kid, probably a 10-year-old kid, it was something else. It was at a fair, and it was just one of those trailers. It was a haunted trailer thing, and it was just one trailer, essentially one room, but it was a straight shot, but there were little areas that you kind of had to go, it kind of jogged around back and forth a little. But there were outcroppings that you had to kind of go past, and there was one actor inside, dressed, I remember vaguely, as a skeleton. And I remember going in by myself and starting to walk, and then I see them poke their head out from down a little ways and then poke back in. And there was a point where there was a few of us lined up because we didn't want to go forward, because we knew we had no choice but to go past them, because they were just down there, and they would poke their head out and they'd poke it back in. And it was great. And I don't remember if he tried to, it seems like we just kind of went past. Like, I don't remember that he actively tried to scare us too much or anything. It was just the creepiness of, we knew we had to go past it. We knew he was right there, and there was nothing we could do about it, and it was amazing. I loved it, and it really impacted me as a kid. And I've been on good haunts and bad haunts. I love haunted hay rides the most, just because it's fun to go on a hayride. One of the problems I have with haunts are the actors, just because you get a lot of like, and I get it, they're kind of like carnies. You're getting a lot of people that it's transient work, it's short-term work. You're getting a lot of young people who are going to be very enthusiastic but kind of sloppy. It gets worrisome because you don't know if any of them are like going to be a little too kind of like excited and like touch you or like bump, like whatever, just be a little too handsy. So all of it's a little kind of dodgy. So best haunted house I've ever been to, and then the worst. The worst was great. It was, so once upon a time in the town I grew, near the town I grew up, there was this big old seminary that was out there, giant. Like, if close your eyes and think of a haunted giant mansion style building, and this could be it. It had a secondary building. It was 3 floors and then a basement. I remember, we discovered it, and I remember we spent several nights like sneaking in and wandering through, me and my friends. We didn't damage anything, didn't steal anything. We were just checking it out because it was just so spooky. And like, there was a room full of old TVs, there was a room full of old windows. It was weird. There was like an underground tunnel. Super weird. And somebody bought it at one point and was going to rehab it, and to get money they had a haunt in there, and it was the laziest, sloppiest haunt I've ever been to. And the only thing that stuck out, it was so funny, is we went into, go into the room. You go into a room and they close the door and it's all dark, and you're standing there and you can hear the haunt actors just having a conversation through the door, like just talking. But then, like, they turned on something on the floor. It was like a vibrating thing. So it was, and it vibrated the floor for about 30 seconds and then turned off. And then the door opened. So, like, it was the stupidest gag and it was the stupidest haunt. And I still, like, I get if you have no budget, but it was just awful. One of the coolest, like, gag things I ever saw, for one, was we went to one in a mall. And you go in a room and it's all coffins, and they're like, find your way out of the room. And we're like, okay. No doors, there's nothing, and the coffins won't open. So we're like, okay. And then finally you try it again, and the coffin opens, and you had to climb down into the coffin, and that took you to another room. And it was just great. It was really, really clever. It's kind of like what they do with a lot of escape rooms now, that kind of a gag. It was really, really cool. My favorite haunt, like, there's a big one in our area that was always like, landed in the top in the nation ones, and it's fun because it's so big. Again, it's like a 20 to 30 minute walk through. It's a big place. It was probably an hour and a half, 2 hour wait too, but it's a big place. And it's just it's neat because there's so much to it. But there was one that was out here that was amazing, and it ran for about 3 years, and it was called The Field Where Robert Moss Played. And it was so it was when I lived in an apartment, and it was kind of out in the middle of nowhere. It was like they had this place just down the street from me, actually, in this giant field. And so you go, and it's kind of got a circusy vibe, but the first part is you get in, and it's a haunted hayride. And they're telling the story of this family, and the family, way back in the 20s or something, and they had this house. They were a nice family, and they were great, and they had a boy and a girl. Everything was great. And then one night, this circus came, around, and they needed a place to stay. So the family let them stay. But in the night, some of the circus people decided they were going to rob the family, and they robbed and killed the family and moved on. And so you go on this hayride, and it's spooky, and there's scary stuff, and then it stops, and they're like, oh, and I can't remember if it breaks down or whatever, but like, oh, you're gonna have to go, go yourself now, and you have to walk, and you'll get to safety. So you get out, and you kind of learn that Robert, the son, had disappeared as a boy. Like after the attack, he disappeared, but he wanted revenge. So you have to walk through this kind of field, and there's monsters. It was funny, they had aliens like the last year because they kind of just went downhill, but they have monsters in there in the field and stuff, and it's kind of a little tiny bit of a maze to kind of get to like forward. So you're kind of going through like a field maze, and the monsters. It was the classic. One year it was my now wife and a friend and I had gone. They had been drinking sake that night, our friend and my wife, and we came upon a monster with a big fake wrench, and they pushed me down in front of said monster and ran. It was so offensive to me. My wife had to, like, she put it in her vows that she would never push me down in front of monsters again. Yep, that's my life. So you go through the field, and then you get to a house, and it's this dilapidated old house that they've built, and you have to go through, and it's not a whole house, it's like a part of the structure of a house, and you have to go through the house. And it was great because, again, it has tons of scares. You go through, in one of the rooms, like is upside down. It's an upside down mirror of another room, and it was great. And like the execution was great. All of it. The story was really well done. It all just kind of like, chef's kiss, and it still sticks with me. And I've been in dozens of haunts, and that one really, really, really got me. It bothers me how many are so haphazard, and they're like, oh, this room is a mad scientist. This room is a circus. This room, and it's like, I just want them to keep it simple and stick to the plot. That's all you got. It doesn't even have to be a big plot. I remember I wrote one, the hayride one, and like kind of like critiqued them and was like, you need a story. I would write you a story kind of thing. And then they called me, and I would never take the call. So I don't know what they wanted. I don't know if they were mad at me or if they were like, what could you do better for us? But yeah, I don't know. It just, that's all I want out of something, is a storyline that makes sense. One of the most effective haunts we went through was at, I think it was the Holly Hotel, which is actually legit haunted. We went there, and they've got ghost stuff. It's legit haunted. It's another story though. And it freaked me out because there was, like, for some reason I heard, or they said or something, that they had found a skeleton there, and just the idea that, oh God, there's a real ghost here. Like, and the idea, and I've always loved this idea of, like, what if you were to go to a haunted house attraction and things got out of control because there was really a haunting, and it turned, and you start the thing really corny and kind of like bad, like, oh my God, this is so stupid, and then it takes the turn, and it's, you feel, and you're not, but you feel as if it's out of your control, and no one's controlling it, like a car on ice. And it just, the idea, that kernel really stuck with me. But it is Halloween season, my friend. I'm going to try to get this up ASAP, so give you a little Halloween 2021 2 cents. I hope you have the best Halloween, however you celebrate it. I hope you have fun. I hope you got to see some spoopy movies. We watched the new Halloween Kills, a few weeks ago. I didn't love it. I liked it. I think it's one of those movies where you got to kind of see how they're going to wrap up the trilogy to really get a feel for how this one worked as like a bridge to that. But it's entertaining. People who hate on it so much should go and watch Halloween 5 and 6 and 8 again and remind themselves how bad the series can be. I am Spooky Chris. You can find my stuff at spookychris.com. I'm wishing you a very happy Halloween. Take care. Be scared.